Since the start of the year, England has been in lockdown, but April saw it reaching a new milestone with gyms, hairdressers and outdoor pubs reopening, hopefully for good. We're even told we'll be able to hug people again, starting next week, and no sooner. I did go out for a meal the first day the restaurants reopened. We have to sit outside, and this being England, there was a bitterly cold wind that day. The salad portion of my dish was immediately blown straight off the plate, and my calzone was cold within minutes. So we're still having to make compromises. They're just smaller than they used to be. There was a time when I regularly checked the daily case and death numbers, but not anymore. Nor am I even keeping up with what I am and am not allowed to do anymore. There are 4 stages of reopening, and I'm only really interested in the last one where things finally do return to normal. Everything before then just feels like a temporary, watered-down reality that there's no point in getting accustomed to. I can't believe how real this lockdown has been. The first one we did last year felt real and scary, but the ones later in the year felt half-assed and fleeting. If you asked me last year how I thought the country would handle being locked down for the first half of 2021, I would say not very well. But it's worked on me, and in ways this feels more like a lockdown than ever, even as things begin to open back up again. I look back at some of the places I went and the things I did last summer, and I'm sort of horrified I did them, given how good I've been at not doing stuff so far this year. I understand how dangerous this attitude is. It's like I've had freedom kept from me for so long that I'm beginning to acclimatise to a new normal where I don't do stuff. Maybe it does take about a year before changes start to stick. Obviously, I know why we're still locking down, and I do see an end in sight. I just hope that once it does end, that my bad habits can also become unstuck. If people in the future look back at this pandemic the way I thought the Spanish flu was like 100 years ago, then people will get it totally wrong. It doesn't have a hard start and end date. It goes through phases and transitions. Some of them are quite fun and exciting, others not so much. The toilet roll shortage didn't occur at the same time as the computer chip shortage. The lockdowns in Italy didn't occur at the same time as the ones in England, and the worst period for New York was not the same as it was for India. If a time traveller returned to this event, they could probably avoid most of the pandemic by simply being in the right place at the right time. If you list everything that's happened, then it sounds horrifying, but there's been a whole lot of nothing in between as well. In England, we're still rolling the vaccines out to younger and younger age groups. It feels like progress has slowed down, but looking at the numbers, I think it's because people are getting their second dose before others are getting their first. I think that by now, most people over the age of 40 have had or are about to be offered a vaccination. Being under 40, I'm still waiting. Elsewhere in the world, America is a place that I've been impressed with. Last year, that country was a perfect example of how not to handle a pandemic. I really thought they were going to reach herd immunity the stupid way. But since the start of this year, they've done a complete U-turn. They've been vaccinating millions a day. It sounds like they've even overtaken England in this regard, since anybody who wants a vaccine over there can now have one. I'm not sure if the uptake's been as high as it is in England, but it's there if you want it. What's not doing so well right now is India. The daily cases and deaths there are huge, and I suspect that even these are being underreported. This country has been late to be affected by it, but it showed a similar trend to the other places. Cases were low, so speculation started about why this could be. Maybe the climate prevented it from spreading. Maybe herd immunity had already been reached. The country then opens up, believing it's safe, and then it gets hit hard. This pandemic has a history of punishing hubris. My girlfriend tells me how sad the documentaries are about it, but if I'm honest, I haven't faced watching them yet. From what little I've seen of them as I've walked past the room, I know that hospitals over there are overrun, out of oxygen, and that people are begging for help as their loved ones die in the car park. That's enough for me. My taste in TV shows has got a little bit more light-hearted since this whole thing began. I've been enjoying watching The Orville. But I have been out a few times for walks on the moor and to document how the nightlife is progressing. The weather this year has been a lot worse than last year's was. I remember that for the first lockdown, all the days were hot and sunny, while this time around we're into early May and it's still cold and windy, with a few good days dotted about here and there. I thought this house that I live in had good sound insulation, but apparently the neighbours hadn't been home until now. Now they are, and I can hear them, all endlessly coughing through the walls. It might not be COVID, but in my mind it is because we're in a pandemic and they're coughing. You'd have to try pretty hard to catch COVID through a wall, but I had a good stab at it when some of my washing blew over into their garden and they kindly left it outside their house for me to pick up. I carefully picked it up and re-washed it immediately, and just hope that this time it doesn't blow back over again. I wish them a speedy recovery from whatever it is that they have. If you ever have to endure a pandemic, Hope that you're in a position like mine. I haven't lost anybody I know to it. I hardly know anyone who has had it. Yet despite that, it has still altered my life, my family's life, and my social circle in a major way. I get nostalgic about pre-COVID times. I reminisce back to what now feels like a very distant time of my life. Not because I miss being unable to do those things, but because in a way I feel they've been lost. Those memories almost feel like somebody else's life now, with COVID being a one-way barrier between then and now. This might not be the case. Next month I might host a LAN party and embarrass myself on a stripper's pole in a nightclub, but I can't imagine that happening right now. When this started, many of my real-life friends lived close by, but most of them have left or moved on in some way or another. I've been unable to see family much. I've got nieces and friends with babies who I've been unable to see, and you can't get that time back. I know already I'll say, "Why, how much you've grown," when I finally see them. There's that lovely Borzoi who I was unable to sing Christmas carols with last year. I miss our duets. What I want in my life right now is stability. I want things to be normal again. Boring, even. Even if I don't catch COVID, I'm fed up of COVID throwing a spanner in the works of future plans. I'm bored of this excitement and uncertainty. I want to get off Mr. Bones' wild ride. But the weather's getting better, the days are getting longer, and my mood is improving. I stay busy and try to make the most of the pandemic, and others have been doing the same. You can't keep putting stuff off, and this pandemic and lockdown has been an excellent time for some self-reflection, and has been the motivation that people have needed to get on with the things they've been putting off. A new job, a new house, a new qualification. Destruction Darius 2. Because you need to stay busy.